Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday, January the 24th. And we will be doing a live stream in roughly 3 hours from now. So that being said, it'll go on for about an hour until tonight's games get started. So let's jump in at the top of the board. Gary Bettman, 72 years of age. Obviously, at some point in time, there will be a new commissioner in the National Hockey League. And the NHL is apparently in the beginning stages of figuring out what that's going to look like. The Gary Bettman has made it known that over the next couple of years, he will probably be looking to retire. And so, as much as I can hear hockey fans everywhere going, yay, Bettman's going to be gone, who will they hire next? The reality is that the NHL has experienced a lot of growth under Gary Bettman. They've made a ton of money under Gary Bettman. And so they're going to be looking for somebody who probably has a lot of experience. I always thought Bill Daly was going to be the next one, so we'll see if that emerges as a possibility or if he decides to leave when Bettman does. But it will be a big change. My guess is, and this is just purely a guess, that we will get the new CBA signed. We will get that done. And with the league in the best financial shape it's ever been in, that would be a point where Bettman might look to make his exit. Say, yeah, 2026, we got our new agreement. And then after the 2026-2027 season, maybe at that point, right? So we'll see what that process looks like. The owners are going to, do the due diligence. And that's why this is being planned out years in advance, because they want to make sure that there aren't any surprises and that they have the exact right person in place for the job when that decision is made. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Do they pick somebody who's related to the NHL in some way and part of their power structure currently? Do they look to other leagues? That kind of thing. Yeah, we'll see what they do when it comes to that search for a commissioner. Tony DeAngelo. So he recently left the KHL. He is now signed with the New York Islanders for the remainder of this season. It prorates to the league minimum. The interesting part is he has to clear waivers first because he played overseas. And my first thought was Evgeny Nabokov. Follow me here. Evgeny Nabokov signs a contract to play for, I believe it was for Detroit, and ends up being claimed on waivers by the New York Islanders before he can rejoin the National Hockey League, which threw everything into chaos. So my first thought was, what if the Sharks put in a claim and DeAngelo ends up going to San Jose instead? There's that danger that a team's going to put in a claim, right? Now, DeAngelo, we know there's the controversies that always follow his name and all of that stuff. Offensively, he can be a useful bottom-pairing defenseman. Defensively, not as much. So he's basically, at this point, just power play specialist, which is very likely what Lou Lamoriello's thinking in picking up the player. I would imagine he clears waivers, but you never know at this time of year, and with so many teams needing depth on the blue line, it's possible he gets picked up. We shall see. Will Carrier is out for at least a couple of months after surgery. He's been dealing with a lower body injury, so he's had surgery, and the hope is that he'll be back before the end of the regular season. So with the timeline as it is, it's going to be close. You're looking at end of March. Season goes till the middle of April. So if everything works out in his favor, he could be back at least a couple of weeks before the playoffs to get himself into playoff shape. Freddie Anderson got win number 300 last night. Apologies for not mentioning that in the review yesterday. There were a lot of games that were going on. And that's one of those things that, yeah, if it's not explicitly mentioned before a game that I'm watching and hearing them talk about, sort of like with Jonathan Quick. I keep in my mind he's at 399 wins, but with his recent string of bad luck, I don't know if he's ever going to get win number 400. But Freddie Anderson gets win number 300, so congratulations to him, and Carolina seems to be getting things together after a rough patch that they had there. Sam Gagner. So he has not given up on the dream. He has signed a professional tryout contract with the Belleville Senators, so that's why I'm wearing the Belleville jersey here. Gagner, if he signs with Belleville, and then there's the option, of course, for Ottawa to sign him before the deadline kind of thing. Just to see what he can do, and just as a fill-in, fourth line kind of thing for the Ottawa Senators maybe at some point. But Belleville gets themselves a guy who's played a lot in the NHL. He's played a lot in the AHL too. Good on Sam Gagner for sticking around and sticking with it. And so, yeah, I hope he succeeds. I think that'd be great. One thing with Ottawa that I wanted to bring up here, too, I did see this. They have now been shut out in 5 of their last 11 games. Their offense is just, it's gone. And it is so weird to watch. And last night, they also had some bad luck against the Boston Bruins. There was a whistle that bailed out Korpisalo when the puck actually was behind him. But yeah, Ottawa needs to get this together. They need to figure this out because with the Rangers getting better, with recent play of Montreal, Detroit's still right there. Ottawa could see this slip by for them. Obviously, Columbus has been playing better too. So Ottawa needs to get that offense figured out, and they need to get it figured out quickly. Jacob Markstrom, it's been announced he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. He's dealing with an MCL sprain. So without Markstrom, that's going to put some pressure on the New Jersey Devils. They're going to have to ride Jake Allen for a while. Nico Dawes will probably get some starts here and there, and we'll see if it makes any difference to their plans at the trade deadline. It is going to affect Four Nations. 4 to 6 weeks means that Markstrom will not be a goaltender for Sweden at Four Nations. So Markstrom loses out on that part of the dream. Of course, we have the Olympics in 2026. I think players are going to be a little bit more excited with the Olympics than they will with the Four Nations tournament. That's just me personally saying that. But yeah, even though every hockey game I'm watching now, they are really pushing the Four Nations. They are really just promoting constantly. I think the NHL just wants to make sure this is as much of a success as possible. While anytime I see the fans polled, it's about 50-50 in terms of excitement with the upcoming tournament. Once it starts, I think we'll get a good idea pretty quickly on how much interest there is. I'll be interested to see what videos I make about it as we lead up to it, and then, while I'm down in California, and then when we get back, what any videos I do on the topic, on that tournament, how those videos do and everything. But yeah, so without Markstrom, that's going to affect Sweden's plans. Tyson Barrie has been loaned to the American Hockey League, so to the Wranglers, by the Calgary Flames on a conditioning loan. He's been a healthy scratch, so Calgary wants to make sure he gets some game action, so they send him down to the AHL for that. Barrie, I don't necessarily blame Calgary for not using him that much, but at the same time, you do want to make sure you have that depth there. So conditioning loan odds are in a week from now. We'll see him getting called up if it's even that long. Matthew Knies is considered day-to-day. He left Toronto's most recent game early after being injured, and so he is considered day-to-day for them. Stolarz is progressing. He hasn't played since December the 12th, and the initial timeline was 4 to 6 weeks on his injury. So this is right around where he should be coming back anyways. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, getting Stolarz back could be huge. Again, looking forward to the trade deadline. Having Stolarz and Wall both healthy gives Toronto stability in net, and I don't think Toronto needs to add a lot at the deadline. I don't. There's been talk about them adding a center, but I don't think they need a lot. It will be a very interesting trade deadline to see which teams make a move and which ones don't. Brad Lambert has been called up by the Winnipeg Jets. He says he's more confident during, at least for this recall, than he was in the previous one. Kind of knows more what to expect and feels more confident in his abilities, this kind of thing. So Lambert, a player that I know a lot of Jets fans have been excited about for a few years now. They're going to get another chance to see what he can do. And all the best to Lambert. Now, locally, and I consider the Vancouver Canucks locally, even though it's a hour drive to Vancouver from here, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. But there's a lot of talk right now about the lack of heart, and that Hughes gets mugged by Perry, and nobody really did anything to stand up for him. But I don't see the lack of heart as necessarily being a sign that this team is lacking in that category, as much as it just feels like they've given up. It feels to me like when the game starts going against the Canucks, they're like, all right, well, we're done. And I think it's started to really infiltrate every part of their game. So Vancouver's in serious trouble now. This is a team that is in some serious trouble. I know last year during the first half of the season, I did a video on how I thought they were probably overachieving, and there was some pushback on that idea from fans at the time. But I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing a Canucks team that won a division last year, in large part because they had a great first half. Everything was bouncing their way, and I think they were overestimated by a lot of people. And now we're seeing the result, and the team has fallen back to a very harsh reality. It's much more difficult to go back to being mediocre after having that taste of success, and I think that's what it is with Vancouver. And then there's all of the discussions of the locker room being divided and everything. There needs to be a major shakeup. They need to make a big deal. And so this is why, JT Miller's name comes out a lot. And I've seen people commenting on the video I made yesterday that, oh, Miller's not being traded. You're just, buying the press on this and the media. But they were ready to make a trade. They've been discussing trading Miller. They're not even denying they're discussing trading Miller. Miller knows they've been discussing trading him. They haven't asked him to waive his no movement clause yet, so that means it hasn't been that close. But he's the one piece that it looks like would be the easiest probably to move, other than Brock Besser, who would be just a rental for whoever picks him up, at least probably. Although they could sign him to an extension, but something needs to change in Vancouver. And the problem is with the Canucks playing as badly as they are, which player is there a market for right now? For all the people that want them to trade Pettersson, who in the world's picking up that contract? And for what? So that's the problem. That's why you don't even consider it. Pettersson said he wants to stay and be part of a solution, which Besser said too, to be fair. And Miller would rather not get traded, but something has to happen. So there you go. We'll see where this soap opera leads us. March the 7th is rapidly approaching, and past that date, if everybody's still in Vancouver that's in Vancouver now, could be a tough stretch for the Canucks. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.